All right, folks, I'm with Jan Halper, the 𝗔𝗯𝗂𝘁. I love talking to you, Jan. It's been a bit. I haven't had you on in a while, so there's a lot to catch up on. And we were talking before I started recording on what we could touch on here. And there's been so much that's transpired. You got the Portland protest, National Guard going into Chicago, Portland, different cities, questionable if Trump's going to sign the Insurrection Act. We have 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗀𝘁 being indicted, 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗲 James, all the stuff that we've been talking about for so many years on my channel, and you've been one of the people contributing to that, is happening. And folks, welcome Jan Halper. Give her a warm welcome. A big thumbs up, please. She's part of the DOD task force, and there's some things she's doing behind the scenes that I can't talk about right now, only if she wants to, but I can't talk about it. But Jan, thank you for joining me.
Well, it's great to be back with you, Nino. And this is a good entree for me to kind of get back into the world. I took 2 weeks off. I was in Turkey, and I happened to have caught on X an interview that 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝘀 had done on August 20th, 2020 about the PEDS, and how Gary Hart was first to be interviewed. And he said, I've never heard of this, and I'm at the Brennan Center, and blah, blah, blah. And one of the reasons that I went to Turkey is they have a great medical spa. So I was talking to the doctor there because we talk about Trump and people love Trump in Turkey. And I mentioned something about the PEDS. He goes, oh, is that kind of like the red folder thing? We've got that here in Turkey as well. And I thought, how could Gary Hart, who is saying on this interview with 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗀𝘀, I've been on, I've had security clearance for a better 50 years and I've never heard of them. How many of our elected politicians are so clueless? How many of them don't even realize that we were a corporation and that we have been under a national emergency, that we don't need an immediate insurrection act right now? It's just, I think that each day I am more horrified and without words about how ignorant our politicians actually are.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you 100%. But first, folks, let me get into this really fast. Talk about a medical spa. Listen to this. Headlines everywhere talk about Ozempic and similar miracle weight loss shots. But what most people don't realize is this major analysis just found that people who stop taking these injections gain nearly all their weight back, folks, within a year. That's the catch. These drugs only work while you're taking them. They're expensive, and the moment you stop, your body fights back. This is why I use this new product, and I'm obsessed with the results. It makes my body look great. GLP-1 Elevate helps my body naturally trigger the same hunger-controlling, craving-reducing signals that Ozempic would without needles, prescriptions, or side effects. It works the same, folks. I use it every day. It promotes safety and fullness, helps reduce hunger hormones, supports fat loss instead of muscle loss. Indictments are trickling. We have 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗀𝘁, who says he's not guilty. We have 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗀𝘁 James. They're going to be kicking and screaming all the way to justice. And let's just ask the question. You're in the DOD task force. Can we trust 𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗄𝗃?
I don't know the actual answer to that. What I do know is that Trump gives everyone a chance to either prove themselves or to fall flat on their face. Now, Trump did quite a few weeks ago really express his frustration with Pam Bondi that she wasn't getting things done. But at the same time, we have to realize that our legal system has become so layered with ways to maneuver and manipulate and circumvent that it makes it hard to bring a case. I think it's fabulous that there wasn't a statute of limitations that had expired, and 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗀𝘁 absolutely deserved this. Even if, and the fact that he was indicted, I think that all of these people should be indicted and have to defend themselves and go bankrupt, just like they tried to do to all the conservatives. That alone. And it depends, it depends on a jury. And the good thing is that Comey is not being tried in DC. He's being tried in Virginia.
Right, but it's a Biden judge.
Well, it is a Biden judge, but if there's going to be a jury, and I am registered to vote in Virginia and got my driver's license in Virginia, maybe I could get on the jury.
Well, okay, all right, fair enough. I mean, we're starting to see things trickle out now. We have Letitia James and other big names. John Bolton is one of them. Adam Schiff, Lisa Cook, John Brennan, Christopher Wray, and then the FBI officials who are under Christopher Wray. All these names are like next on the list from what I'm looking at. Fannie T. Willis, but it's still I understand where you're coming with like draining their bank accounts, the whole thing, but people really want to see justice. Like people are tired of what happened,
Well,
what we've been through as Americans, what we went through in 2020, all the way to now. We want nothing less than justice, and we want it served on a cold platter. And you know, with that being said, I mean, do you feel like we're on our way, or do you feel like this is going to happen in the DOJ system, or it's going to have to go military?
Well, that's a good question. First off, you're absolutely right. We all do want justice. The not having justice put us a lot of us into really deep, depressions, including myself. You know, I've talked about how I had to have my own coming to Jesus meeting with myself to pull myself out of the 𝗩𝗶𝗱𝗲 and all those expectations. And so I do want to say what I have consistently said is that we can't get expectations of the outcome, because when we start having expectations of the outcome, we start creating our own fantasies, our own scripts of how it should be. It takes a while to make things happen and to undo the, pardon my language, but the crap that has been done. I mean, I love the fact that it was just released, the copy of the emails of the 51 that signed on for the Hunter Biden laptop, and that the strategy definitely was to circumvent the 2020 election. You know, that has come out. So there's the first step of things being released, and then it's deciding what the strategies need to be of how best to go about it. And I think that, you know, let's just think about this. So what are we, 8 months into it? There's been quite
10
a
months
lot.
into Trump? About 10 months.
Yes.
We're in October now.
February, March,
Oh,
April,
okay, you're
May,
right, you're right.
June, July, August, September. We're just in the 9th month,
Right,
finishing
right.
the 9th month, almost to the 10th. You're right. You're right. We're almost at the 10th month starting. But when you also look at what he's accomplished on the positive side of things, and you see how many people are moving things in the right direction with all of the resistance and the obstacles and the sabotage that goes on, I think we have, I feel like we shouldn't be impatient. There's no reason to be impatient. We're just waiting. It's almost as if we could see them line up in handcuffs and being marched right to Guantanamo.
Yeah.
And I think that's a visual that we would all like. That is not actually going to happen anytime soon, because just remember, we've got to also deal with the negativity that comes. And I think Trump has been dealing with it and circumventing it very, very well. Now, in terms of will it go military, I suspect, I don't have this confirmed. And you know, unless I have things confirmed, I generally don't like to speak of it. But what I would say, because we do know about the PEDs, we do know about the executive orders, we do know that he has declared a national emergency going back to 2017, and Biden kept renewing those executive orders. As long as the Democrats keep saying there's going to be a civil war, they will open the door for Trump to then be able to declare an insurrection act.
Right.
So remember, he's got to bait them. And that is a lot of what is happening. I mean, it would be lovely if there was a magic wand and we could make certain things happen so he could take the actions that we give him to take. But that's not the way life works.
It's move and counter move.
It's move
fluid.
and counter move. And the other part that isn't public for us to see, but many of us have been able to talk about it, is just keep in mind, it's been going on since 2018. Those ships are still in Australia, in Japan, off the coast of Italy, down here in Southampton.
So justice is being served.
Oh, it has
just
been.
not publicly.
Exactly.
Okay, let's leave it there because I want to go to the back channel to talk about that, Ninoscorner.tv, because I don't want to talk about it here, but that's a profound statement coming from someone in the DoD task force.
All right, let me just further elaborate on it carefully. But so what I'm saying is that because that has been going on, it's not the people that we publicly would like to see. But I think that that will be the icing on the cake.
I heard, I had Gene Decode on talking about the Hegseth summons with the generals, and he said, according to his intel, now, folks, I don't have any way to validate this. You know, my guests, when they come on, I lay it out for you all to play it up. But he said that, some of the generals were arrested after that summons. And I would, like I said, I have no proof on that, but I think about it logically, and I'm like, that would make sense to me. It does seem like they would be summoned, and then the ones, some given their walking papers, some, told to quit, some promoted, and then maybe some arrested. That seems logical to think.
There would be no other reason to bring 800 of the top brass in if they didn't want to, one, educate them and tell them what their military orders need to be and what to expect and how they're going to have to organize their troops and what their responsibilities will be around the globe. That is the most important part, the strategic part and where things are going. And yes, by bringing them in, they're able to deal with all of the other personnel issues. It was far more than shave your beard off and drop 20 pounds.
Okay, I would imagine so, because
yeah, and see, it's not so important as to whether some got fired or some were asked to resign or what. What was more important is that they were brought together as a team to understand where our country is going and what their responsibilities are and what role they play in it. Because as we know, this is a global operation. It is not just our nation's military. And so why else would you have all 800 hearing the same information at the same time if it wasn't so important that the message was clearly understood?
So when you say it's a global operation, a lot of people think, a lot of people throw around the term white hats and they think Trump's operation. But when you say global operation, other militaries are involved in taking down the globalists. So it's not just America. It's all the militaries are involved in fighting against this tyranny.
Well, I don't know all of the nations, but given that we have an understanding that we're also going to go through a financial revaluation and change, that is global. You don't do that in an isolated way, especially the way different countries operate within their own political and financial systems. And we know that this has been coordinated. You know, in 1992, the World Economic Forum and the United Nations brought people together because that was when they had communicated there was going to be a one world ruled by, you know, the Council on Foreign Relations, the 300 most, you know, select people. And we have been fighting that ever since. And actually, I mean, to say 92, because it was going on, and in 1960, that's when, or was it 62, that JFK was killed,
Right.
assassinated.
I think it was 60.
So 60, yeah, 62,
I believe.
63.
I don't,
Yeah,
my audience can
I've
chime in
got
there.
so many dates in my head. That's one that should come off my tongue, but right now, no. But the point being that how long this has been going on, how long we've been fighting it, and we understand the globalization from a corporate standpoint, but if you're going to have globalization from a corporate standpoint, there has to be behind the scenes political aspects to it. And I caution people to not listen to some people that are saying that Trump is really King of England, and, you know, we don't know that stuff. It's the same as when people ask me, do I think JFK Jr. is alive?
Yeah.
If you tell me he's alive, is my life going to change? Is anything, are any of our politicians going to do their job any better? You know, are we going to throw Antifa in jail if I know that information? We don't, it doesn't matter whether we have that information or not. We need to stay focused on what the most important issues are. And that is what they really are dealing with. And I'm quite confident that as long as the Democrats keep our government shut down, Trump will have no choice but to, even if it's a mini insurrection act and he brings the military in. I have to admit that I didn't even take my computer to Turkey with me for 2 weeks. I really wanted to just shut off. So intricacies, I'm not necessarily up to date on, and it's those intricacies that give me more of my answers that I can put the puzzles together. But over the weekend, I've been trying to catch up, and I think that the Democrat enough to believe that this will really hurt Trump, but what's
It's hurting
happened?
them.
Well, it is, but are you aware that well, we know 92% of the government employees have contributed to the Democrat Party over the years. They're out of work messages because they're furloughed. They keep trying to change it, but Russ Voigt and OMB have gone in, and literally the out of work message is due to the Democrats causing the shutdown. And these employees are getting so ticked off, and they keep trying to change it, and it gets changed back. See, it's those things that we need for that to happen, because it keeps on waking people up.
Yes, it does. So, okay, so I'm looking at Vance right now, and I'm seeing like the wheels of justice are grinding pretty slow. Do you believe Vance is going to be the successor, and do you think he's going to keep fulfilling the Trump operation, the agenda? Because I mean, it seems like these indictments are coming out just a little bit slower than I would like, than most people would like. But is Trump? I mean, a lot of people are saying that Vance is going to be the successor, like he's going to be the guy. And I keep thinking to myself, oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm not very fond of him, but I mean, but then I don't really dislike him either. It's just kind of like a bland type of taste in your mouth. You know, it's like, all right, well, if that's who they want, I guess we'll deal with it. But what's your thoughts about that?
Well, first off, Nino, you know me well enough that I don't do future,
Yeah, yeah.
assumptions. But what I will say is that I think Marco Rubio has surprised a lot of us.
Yeah, he surprised me.
He and I think it's a lesson for all of us to know and to understand and to really give patience with ourselves. When you're put in the right situation, your talents surface. And people recognized that there was some talent in Rubio when he first came. He gave the counter talk to a State of the Union. And of course, then he had to have a sip of water. And then what did the media do? They put him down for that years ago. But they recognized something in him. And he has really come across as a leader. I don't know yet about Vance. I think Vance is superb on the media. I think he's clear about things. I am not up to date, and I'm trying to find people who can educate me about Palantir and Peter Thiel and that relationship. And what does that mean, and really where does Vance really stand? He's incredibly supportive and he's got a strong voice. But what we see, you can't see leadership from a vice president because they're not given those opportunities.
Right.
But we are seeing leadership from Marco Rubio. And if there was to be a primary and a few people putting themselves forth, there would be a bit of a competition between Rubio and Vance, and I don't know anyone else who's really surfaced right now.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the Trump appointees like Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, Dan Bongino, Vance, all these people that are involved with Trump, Rubio, a lot of people feel like they've been let down, and then they've been pleasantly surprised by a few of them as well. Like you're saying Rubio, and you're right. Like I'm kind of, wow, he has defied the odds. He's actually come through. And same with Pete Hegseth.
Yeah, he really, really has. And I know some people, see, this is the other thing that has concerned me. And it really, our politicians do not understand that they are role models for leadership. And because they don't work as a team, because they're not coordinated, because they are so tribal, the amount of the tribal attitudes that exist even within the MAGA community. I mean, right now in Tennessee for the special election, Mark Green, the congressman, was retiring because he got some great job. And Matt Van Epps, who is a Army guy, and I happened to have been in Tennessee for some of the debates. He actually, at the end of early voting, had a 16-point lead. And he ended up winning the seat in the special election. Well, the amount of my friends, because some were for Jody Barrett and some were for Matt Epps, they're now not talking to one another.
Wow.
We got to grow up.
Yeah.
We got to grow up.
America
And
needs
the
to grow
Freedom
up.
Caucus had put 750,000 behind Jody Barrett. But just before the special election ended, Trump did an online thing with Matt Van Epps, and that put him over. But the fact that these people have been friends and worked together for years and years and years, and now are squabbling just over a special election that now they'll have to run again for next November 26th. I mean,
what's your thoughts on 26? So how do you think this is? What do you think is going to come? What do you think is going to transpire? There's so much that can happen. Look how much has happened in the 9 months Trump has been in office. I mean, I can't imagine. I don't think they're going to be able to finagle the bagel at all in 2026. I mean, I think it's just going to be, I think by 2026, the whole Democratic Party will probably be dismantled anyway.
Well, that's a possibility. And of course, the media and the pollsters. See, I really believe that what the pollsters do is try to tell you how to think. They
Right.
don't really do accurate polls. And there are quite a few polls coming out that the Democrats have a lead over it. But these are my concerns. One is that Trump set the style of leadership from the day he set in there, a sense of urgency. Our Senate, who only works 2.5 days a week, they show up for bed check Monday at 5:30 p.m. and they knock off at noon on Thursdays, which is why they were so far behind. Did it take Charlie Kirk being assassinated for them to finally approve 148 nominations that had been hanging and hanging and hanging, which allowed the Biden appointees to stay in those jobs and sabotage and put up obstacles and create all sorts of problems for things? And they don't do their job. Congress has moved so slowly. They worked 113 days last year. When I just lost my light.
It's
Let's
okay.
see if I can get it
No,
back.
you look great. You look great.
Okay,
There it is.
all
Okay.
right. The Senate has a 6,000 to-do list of regulations and laws to pass, but there's no sense of urgency. Starting in early April of this year, and this is what has been keeping me concerned, is that people were already talking about the midterms. They were already talking about who needed to be primaried. And that dissatisfaction with how slow these sloths in Congress, and sloths are the slowest of the animal kingdom, they don't move. They just
Right.
don't move. And so my biggest concern is that, especially with the House, there is a possibility that we could end up with still a very small margin if they don't get their act together.
Right.
I think with the Senate, maybe they're finally starting to move forward a little bit. But I am seriously thinking about making a video of calling our Congress out for their lackadaisical and different problems.
They're
these are some-
incompetent. They're incompetent. Let's just put it.
Well-
Let's just say it the way it is. They're incompetent. Most of them. 90% of them are.
Actually, I think it's a
Or
little different.
compromised.
I think it's a little different, especially in the House. Well, for both sides, self-preservation is what motivates them every day, not we the people,
Right.
not the responsibility of their job. In the 2016 budget, 27% of the discretionary spending was not approved and hadn't been approved for anywhere from 5 to 15 years. The 1992 Endangered Species Act expired in 1997, and they're too afraid. It's called sunset clauses. So when they approve an act, there's a sunset clause. It has a finite end date. But what happens with the leaders, or the speaker, and it doesn't matter which side, they don't ever want to bring it back to the floor to talk about whether they refund it because they're too afraid of upsetting voters.
Mm.
And that it is their self-preservation selfishness.
Right.
That is what really, really ticks me off. And that is what has been going on. And
That's why I hope the 𝗷𝗶𝗱𝗲𝐁 case comes through somehow. If that's a real, I mean, I hope. I don't know. I can dream.
Right now, if it came through, that would be a calamity.
Yeah, that's what I've been told as well.
Yeah,
That's what I've been told as well. It would not be good for the country right now. It would be
No,
kind of like the
no.
Epstein list, correct?
Yeah. And
The
you know,
Epstein
the
list
other thing,
would have been a calamity as well, correct?
yes. The other thing is to pay attention to which one of the elected officials are saying they're not going to run again for a federal role, but they're running for governor or something in the state. That's because Lloyd Brunson's or the Brunson hopeful act that could become just restricts them on a federal level.
So you think the Epstein list, the Epstein files from not being released, we avoided a catastrophe?
Well, this is my concern about Epstein files. As we know, during the time of the Biden administration, because we were so blown away by the loss and we needed something to care about, it was Save the Children. So for 4 years, people talked about Save the Children. We had films about child trafficking. And so part of me thinks that the Epstein files are symbolic of also, I hope I get the number right, 13913 executive order, which was about human and child trafficking.
Okay.
And I think that the mistake that not necessarily Trump, but that Congress is making is that because they're still so afraid of the voters, they're not thinking strategically. What they should do is they need to get Kash Patel and Dan Bongino in for hearings to talk about the arrests of the pedophiles, to talk about the children that they've recovered, because we just want to know that there are things being done. And because we don't get any information about that, so if they would be very strategic about it so that we could get that information, it would put some of that down. 2, I do not believe that Jeffrey Epstein was a blackmailer. I believe that he was a pawn of the intelligence services, because even Alex Azar, when he was the U.S. attorney in Florida and prosecuted Epstein in 2008, when he was being vetted for his job in the 2016 Trump administration, he said that the intelligence community had said Epstein is one of ours.
Damn.
That didn't mean that he was a spy. We know Robert Maxwell was a double agent. I happen to believe more that Ghislaine Maxwell was Epstein's handler and not his girlfriend. Because, well,
That's
her dad, and that, yes, she was there. Yes, she procured. Yes, she got people there. But he was not the original blackmailer. He was the pawn for the intelligence and the financial community. Let's just go back. He was teaching at the Dalton School in New York. For people that are unfamiliar with the Dalton School, it is the prestigious school in New York, is mostly liberal, for everyone in power of the financial world, the media world, the educational world, the medical world, the political world. And who was the head of the Dalton School when they hired Jeffrey Epstein to teach there when he had no degrees? Bill Barr's father, who had been part of the original CIA.
Wow.
Okay, so let's just start there. If you
Good place to start.
If you understand that as the base of it, and then where did Epstein go from there? Bear Stearns, big Jewish community. Now, why would this very waspy, exclusionary, privileged community take in an uneducated, I don't care how smart he was, an uneducated, an undegreed Jewish man, and then in short order put him on the Council of Foreign Relations, there is not another human being without serious credentials that go back over generations, or they've gone to, and Epstein had none of those, but he was trained in how to hide money, how to launder money, how to do deals. Anand Khashoggi was part of the Contra affair, and Jeffrey Epstein helped the funding of that during the Ollie North.
Wow.
So he was his brain, his financial brain. And so now, if people are giving him their life savings, and we know wealthy people are afraid of losing a penny, they're so nervous about it. If they are entrusting Jeffrey Epstein, he's not going to blackmail them.
Right.
It is the people he's working for that will be doing the blackmailing. And
he was used as a pawn.
And the Lolita Express and the island and everything else, what you have to think about, it was that kind of perks. It was a place for these people to act on their sexual proclivities in a quote unquote safe environment, which is no different than the president of IBM giving a good customer and that company season tickets for the football team,
favor
or the
for favor type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It was that kind of stuff. So the other part, so now let's deal with Alex Azar, who said that he was told Epstein's one of ours. And we don't have this complete confirmation, but we do have confirmation that Maxwell was. They don't make referrals to the FBI. They don't take notes after their meetings. So to say that there is more information, yes, but it hasn't been shared with the people that would be able to even expose it. It hadn't been passed on. So that's why I want to caution
There's
people.
a lot here to take in. There's a lot here to unpack on this one.
Well, there is. And so on the emotional side for people, save the children. Epstein, he gathered the bad guys that hurt the children. So he becomes the symbolism of, if we could get those connected to him exposed, then maybe the domino effect would happen.
Right.
No, but that is a hope. But what's more important to understand is also the timing of when the uproar happened. And the reason that I say this is that we were just about to have the Genius Act voted on in Congress. Now, if Epstein has been the pawn of the cabal, the financial community in Britain, which has controlled the finances of the world, that Genius Act represented to them that Donald Trump was going for US financial sovereignty for the first time. Wow. That threatened them. Given that it threatened them, they had to do something to get at Trump. Also, who was coming in town but Netanyahu just about that time? So do you really think if there was some Israeli connection stuff that Trump was going to have it exposed? No, he wasn't. But they really, I wish we could get into the CNC if the C had anything really, really key, because that's where it would be hidden. But it will stay hidden because that's what happens with the CIA.
You think this stays hidden?
Yeah, I think if there's any more that we need to know. But now, on the other hand, if a lot of these people were exposed. And we know there are so many unhealthy, disgusting human beings who've been involved in this, but we need them politically. We need to either have our bases or we need to have, so there's
makes
always
sense.
a bit of a trade-off, and we have to think about those aspects of it.
Jan, thank you so much. This was you knocked it out of the park. I'm just like, wow. That makes most sense to me than any of the podcasts I've done about this. I think this is gonna be a home run for my audience. So there's a lot here, folks, to take in. Jan, where do people find you?
They find me at 𝗑𝗪𝗀 at X, at Real Dr. Jan at Truth Social. And I'm going to finally have time to get back to my writing. So it's drjan.substack.com.
drjan.substack.com. Thank you, Dr. Jan, so much for joining me today. Thank you. It means a lot. I haven't talked to you in a long time. So
I know.
Been great to catch up. Thank you.
Take care.
All right, folks. I'm